Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah. Wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of all the worlds. We bear witness that there is nothing worthy of worship except the one God, whom the Muslims refer to as Allah. And I bear witness that the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, is his last divinely sent messenger and the seal of the prophethood. Ameen. We want to welcome our friends in South Africa, the United States, and around the world to this week's edition of A Conversation with El-Hajj Mauri Saalakhan. I'm pleased to be your host, coming to you once again through the Salam Media platform out of Johannesburg, South Africa. Salam Media is an online portal for humanitarian journalism. We don't just report the news, we advise you on what you can do about it. Today's broadcast is another very special one. We have a friend with us, someone who I have known for a number of years, Rabbi Dovid Feldman of Neturei Karta International. He is our guest for today's conversation, and we have a lot to talk about. Before we get into the conversation, however, I want to show a piece of video that will set the tone for at least part of what we are going to be discussing today. The distinction between Zionism and Judaism as it relates to what the world is witnessing right now in occupied Palestine. Let's see the first video, Brother Sadiq.
My brother and I did not advertise my parents' anti-Zionism to our Jewish neighbors, since most Jews acted like you were less than human if you opposed Zionism in those years. But my parents taught us about the deals the Zionists made with fascists, even supporting the decision to refuse entry to Jewish refugees during the war in return for U.S. support for the establishment of Israel. My father always said, the Zionists love Israel and hate Jews. He said two other things that turned out to be really prophetic. One was that the Zionist Jewish establishment made a deal with the devil. When you see the Zionists of America honoring known anti-Semites, Steve Bannon, Donald Trump, you can see how true this has become. My father's other belief, which turned out to be extremely significant, is his questioning the rationale for a Jewish state altogether. He had the guts to question why a Jewish state was a good thing. He would say that Jews were nomads. We take culture everywhere. He thought it would turn out to be a disaster for Jews in the world, given that Israel was built on the backs of the Palestinians. He taught us that it was simply not fair to scapegoat Palestinians for the Holocaust when they had nothing to do with it. He would say, how can Jews be safe if we're kicking people out of their houses? He felt strongly that because of the Holocaust, Jews were vulnerable to being used by powerful players who wanted Israel for their own interest. He always thought that Israel was an imperialist project.
Okay, that is a thought-provoking start to what will no doubt be a thought-provoking conversation. Without any further ado, I'd like to bring Rabbi Dovid Feldman on to the program. Shalom, assalamu alaikum, Rabbi Feldman. Welcome to today's broadcast.
Assalamu alaikum, Brother Mauri. As you said, we know each other for a long time, and it's a privilege, it's an honor for me to share the platform with you and to share some good thoughts where all of us can learn and help others to learn and overcome some massive propaganda which is around for so long.
Indeed. On the propaganda front, Rabbi Feldman, let's start with who Neturei Karta is, what your relationship is to this community, and how it differs from what most people, because of the power of propaganda, how most people see Jews and the Jewish community. Let's begin there.
Okay, we'll have to have a very long introduction because this is there's a lot to discuss. To start, I would like to preface by saying that nothing that I present here is any of my personal opinion or the opinion of some individuals or a group. What I'm presenting is traditional Judaism, what all Jews believed in for as long as Judaism is around. Unfortunately, the movement of Zionism has distorted so much very basics and very fundamental concepts of Judaism, and sadly, so many people follow it, and therefore people are getting confused. Again, my name is Rabbi David Feldman. I'm a spokesperson for Neturei Karta International, which is an international global Orthodox Jewish organization, a religious Jewish organization, which voices the voice of masses of anti-Zionist Jews around the world. And again, basically the opinion of traditional Judaism in regarding to Zionism and to Jewish nationalism. Now, to start, before even we go in to the recent genocide in Gaza, before we go in to the ongoing occupation of Palestine, which just now, sadly, we have reached 76 years since the creation of the State of Israel. It is way, this oppression of the Palestinian people goes back even before 1948. But before we address or we think about any oppression of other people, about any crimes being done to anyone, even before anyone ever imagined that this supposed beautiful concept of the State of Israel is going to affect anyone. At that time, the religious Jewish leadership opposed it vehemently. And they opposed it on the grounds of very basics of Jewish belief. According to Judaism, first of all, before we go further, we have to understand and remember the great difference between Judaism and Zionism. Judaism is a religion only, no politics to it, no nationalism to it. You don't need a Jewish nationalism in order to be Jewish, and in order to follow God and to practice the Jewish religion. Versus Zionism, which is a purely political movement, has nothing to do with Judaism, happens to be its total contrast, as I'm going to explain, and in no way represents all Jews, and certainly does not represent the Jewish religion. Now, in other words, before we go further, we have to understand that Judaism and Zionism has no connection, and Zionism, this Jewish nationalism, does not represent the essence or the religion of Judaism. In addition to that, it happens to be that it's not only not Judaism, it is the total contrast of Judaism, and it is the greatest violation of Judaism. According to one of the very basics of Jewish belief, there's a concept of exile, the Jewish exile, which we believe is a divine decree. The Jewish exile that happened 2,000 years ago by the destruction of the Jewish temple in Jerusalem, which happened through the hands of the Romans at the time. But all Jews always believed that this was a direct divine decree that happened through the actions of some human beings. This divinely decree of exile, we are required to accept it, whether it is comfortable or it isn't. In the majority of cases, it was not comfortable. In some cases, it was way better. This is a whole discussion by itself. That in countries, Palestine was a very good example of those good experience throughout our exile. But Jewish people are forbidden to end this exile by any physical means. We are praying, we are yearning for the ultimate redemption, where it says, we say in our prayers of our high holidays, it's that day when all mankind together will form one bond to serve Almighty, to accept God's kingdom and serve him in peace and harmony, all peoples together. This is what we are waiting for. Until that spiritual change takes place on earth, before God does this by himself without any human power, we are forbidden to make any attempts, any physical attempts to end this exile. And again, I want to reiterate, this is even if it's without any crimes, without affecting anyone, without hurting any human being or animal. It is still forbidden. We are required to be loyal citizens in whichever country we are. We are required to be peaceful with our neighbors, regardless where we live. This is how Jewish people conducted themselves for 2,000 years. And again, this was accepted by all Jews throughout all generations as very basics of Judaism without any doubt or disagreement. Until Theodor Herzl came, just over 100 years ago, he was the founder of Zionism, was not a Jewish scholar or a religious leader. He was an outspoken heretic who not only didn't follow Judaism, but basically hated God and his religion. He was proud by turning his back to the tradition of his grandparents and of its people. And these people, Theodor Herzl and his colleagues, these people and only these people came up or could have come up with a philosophy which is so contrary to basics of Jewish belief. And therefore, the Jewish leadership, the religious Jewish leadership at the beginning of Zionism, again, as I said, way before anybody realized or understood that this is going to affect any people, because, originally in the first place, this was supposed to be supposedly the land without a people, for the people without a land. Everybody would be in peace. Nobody is going to be affected. They ignored the indigenous population of Palestine and tried to present this beautiful story as this is the most righteous and most compassionate concept that can be. But since this unfolded in Palestine, and since so many people were wronged, so much oppression, so much killing of people, or dispossessing the people, or stealing the land, and the crimes go on and on. This is so much worse and so much more crimes to it. And we always say this is not only, killing and stealing is not only a breach of basics of human rights or violation of international law. These are true violations of Judaism. Now, no wonder it's the very same people that dropped everything in Judaism and started with a concept, with a philosophy which is so contrary to Judaism. These very same people do so many other crimes in Judaism by killing and stealing and oppressing an entire people. But coming to the other point you mentioned, how we differ from many other people who do support Israel. Unfortunately, propaganda of Zionism is massive. In addition, there is so much intimidation. And above all, it's this massive ignorance, which sadly, and I say this, and I'm embarrassed, but the majority of Jewish people today, unfortunately, don't know much about Judaism. They don't practice Judaism. They don't keep the Sabbath and don't practice the Ten Commandments. We are not here to judge each and every individual because many of these people might be innocent. They come from a very marginal education or no religious education, and they have no idea any better of what Judaism is. But with all excuses, this is not Judaism. In other words, you cannot ignore the entire religion and still present an idea as the Jewish idea. This is not what traditional Judaism is. One of the confusions that Zionism has managed to present is this new version of Judaism. what was accepted throughout all generations, that all what Judaism stands for is the religion. One of our great sages, going back hundreds of years, Reb Sadi Guan, and he said, "Aine Musaini Imu, Elu Batoire." Our people is a people only by the Torah, by the Jewish religion we follow and believe in. Without our religion and without the practice of God's commandments, there is no Jews or Judaism. This new version of Judaism, that you no longer have to follow Judaism, you no longer have to, God forbid, believe in God or follow his commandments, and you are still Jewish, or your philosophy or movement is still a movement of Judaism, this is not only not true, but this is a misrepresentation or an uprooting of basics of the actual concept of Judaism. Therefore, you find so many people that end up supporting or siding with the state of Israel because they might not know anything better, and all that makes them Jewish is this new, supposedly so-called Jewish nationalism. Sadly, they don't, for one reason or another, they don't practice Judaism. Now, nothing makes them Jewish, and basically they struggle with defining what their Jewish identity is all about. They're struggling with the definition of Judaism, not to be supposed to follow God and still define themselves as Jewish, and therefore they have to, or are forced to accept this Jewish nationalism in order to fill this vacuum and to explain how they are Jewish.
Rabbi Feldman, I'd like at this point to take a station break, and then when we come back, I'd like for you to expound a little more on that distinction between Torah-believing Jews like Neturei Karta, the work that you do, and the response that you and your community receives from the Zionists, both in the state of Israel and abroad. And then I'd also like for you to share your thoughts on this this phenomenal activism that we're seeing on college and university campuses around the U.S. and abroad. But first, a station break.
Sure.
Maulana Timol will once again be taking a trip abroad for Qurbani. Many people in the villages live well below the poverty line and only eat meat on the days of Eid al-Adha. Support this cause at 2,030 Rand for 7 shares or 290 Rand per share. Contact Maulana Timol, Maulana Sajjad, Maulana Hamad or Maulana Abbad on 011-852-6324 or 082-368-6866 or 072-697-0131. All slaughtering will be supervised by a team of foreign and local ulama. Visit www.operationqurbani.org.za.
Searching for elite local and international investment and advisory services from an award-winning firm? Look no further than the Belmont Mayer Group, your gateway to unparalleled investment and wealth management. At Belmont Mayer, we believe in the art of wealth creation, a meticulous process fueled by our unwavering commitment to excellence. With a focus on providing elite alternative investments and quality advice, we also pride ourselves on maximizing value for our esteemed investors, as seen through our consistent outperformance. Your financial success is our top priority. Join us at Belmont Mayer and experience the difference firsthand. Ready to embark on a journey of greatness? Contact us today. Reach out to the Belmont Mayer Group on 078-786-1698. Call or WhatsApp or email us at info@belmontmayer.com. Elevate your financial future with Belmont Mayer, where every detail matters.
Send food and send kindness to those who have lost their homes and have been plunged into poverty. For those who are a meal away from starvation, A food parcel means an entire family can eat this Ramadan. That's the power of food. Donate now to Islamic Relief.
You know, it's a wonder how kids get anything done these days. With all the distractions, when do they even get time to study? As a mother, all I can really do is make sure they have all they need to perform at their best. That's why I choose to include Sunfoil triple refined pure sunflower oil with every meal I make. Naturally cholesterol-free and approved by the Heart and Stroke Foundation as part of a balanced eating plan. So whether I'm cooking, frying or baking, I know every dish will be a wholesome one. Sunfoil, now we're cooking.
When the perfect blend of stylish decor, exquisite halal cuisine, and warm hospitality come together, it could only mean Al-Bayt Lodge, your true home away from home. Al-Bayt is the ideal heaven for families, business people, and tourists with its 4-star family rooms and other luxurious facilities. Conveniently situated close to Port Elizabeth Airport, the beach, and other amenities, your stay will be truly unforgettable as you'll be taking home lasting memories of the warm hospitality, the serenity and tranquility that Al-Bayt has to offer. For reservations, call 041 583 6415 or visit www.albaytlodge.co.za.
Dad, these Frymax chips are so tasty.
Wow, that really takes me back. My dad bought me a Frymax chips every day after school. They were my favorite when I was your age as well. Quality is at the very heart of what we do, and that's why we ensure that every Frymax packet is filled with the beautiful goodness and flavor-packed taste that you've come to expect from us since 1982. Frymax, from generation to generation.
Valley's Motor Spares. We supply motor spares and accessories for all makes and models of motor cars, LDVs, bakkies, trucks, and earth-moving equipment. We deliver on time, every time. Please contact us via WhatsApp on 014-592-0925 or call 014-592-0925 or visit 28 Zenderling Street, Rustenburg. Remember the name, Valley's Motor Spares.
Listen to something fresh. Listen to Salam Media.
Welcome back to a conversation with El-Hajj Mauri Saalakhan. My guest for today is Rabbi Dovid Feldman of Neturei Karta International. And in the opening part of the broadcast, he went into a great amount of detail in distinguishing the difference between Judaism, the religion of Judaism, the revealed religion of Judaism, and this political monstrosity called Zionism. What I'd like for you to do at this point, Rabbi Feldman, is share with our listeners and viewers, some of the experiences, the price that members of your community and other communities like yours have had to pay for doing the kind of education and communal awareness work that you do. You've had to pay a tremendous price, and also share with our listening and viewing audience your thoughts, your perspective, the impressions you've had concerning the for me highly impressive protests, the activism that we have seen, especially coming from the young, from many of these schools, colleges and universities in the U.S. and abroad, as well as now increasingly high schools and middle schools. Please share your thoughts.
Right. Starting with the first point. Yes, we are involved in massive work constantly, continuously, nonstop, especially recently, where we are educating on the traditional Jewish opposition to Zionism, as I explained before, which Zionism goes contrary to very basics of Jewish belief, and all crimes which is being perpetrated against the Palestinian people, which are truly criminal in a true violation of Judaism. And we educate the masses. We try to get our voice across to Jewish communities, to non-Jewish communities, to express our solidarity with the suffering people of Palestine or any of their friends, relatives, or loved ones the world over. And as a result of our activities, first, let me say what our experience is in the Muslim and the Arab world. And we get this question all the time. It is always positive, with no exception. And let me tell you this story, and I tell this story to my communities as well. We visited Gaza in 2009. This was after the beginning of the siege in Gaza. This was after a terrible war, after a massive destruction. We witnessed there, terrible scenes, people living in tents, families broken apart, American school bombed to the ground among so many other schools, other buildings. But before we did that trip, we were eager to go because we were eager to show to Palestine our feeling that the pain that we have and that we share with them, and how frustrated we are with all what is happening to them, and especially when this is being done, sadly, supposedly in our name. But we had a question, whether it's going to be safe for us to go, whether it's going to be safe from Israel, and this is related to the question you asked. And then, after all, Gaza is the most affected people from this occupation. And some people might not know who we are, and who knows what can happen. Long story short, we ended up going, and we had this extraordinary experience. From one side, so sad and so disturbing, and so much tears in our eyes by witnessing what's going on. But on the other hand, so much joy to see how close we are to peace. The moment people realized that obviously we are Jewish. I was dressed the same way I dress here in front of you. I was obviously looking Jewish. Nobody had any doubt who we are. We were Jews. But in the same time, it was very clear that we don't represent these crimes. We don't condone the crimes. On the contrary, we are against all what is taking place. And it was so easy for people to understand that. And by understanding that, the friendship was so great and the experience was so special. And we just witnessed for ourselves, and we helped others to try to realize and understand how close we are to peace. We just need to put the politics aside. We need to stop these crimes, and peoples as peoples can live together as we did live in Palestine. And this is also a whole story for itself. People need to realize and understand that Jewish people lived in Palestine. Yes, before 1948, there was already problems. But before the 1920s, in the very beginning, before the movement of Zionism came in, Palestine never had a problem with the Jewish people. And I'll come back to this point later. But coming back to your point, what the reaction is from the pro-Israelis, from the Zionists, it's terrible. And let me start not by my personal experience. Let me start by the experience my colleagues have in occupied Palestine, what they call today the state of supposedly Israel, supposedly being the Jewish state, supposedly a state that brings safety and security for the Jewish people. And my people in Jerusalem or in other cities face dangerous harassments, physical attacks, not from individuals, but officially from the government, the official army or the local police. There are finally, recently, in the last couple of years, there are finally videos out there, and you can find them online. You can find them on our social media, on our website, nkusa.org, how the Israeli government does everything they can, not only to silence our voice, but to punish us when we attempt to raise awareness. And this happens all the time. And this repeats itself each and every time. Now, no one should ever think that the state of Israel is here for the protection of the Jewish people. It's not about the people. It's about a national movement which they are here to support. And this brings back to the point that was raised in that little introduction you played before I came on. Sadly, those stories are true. In the very beginning of Zionism, the movement of Zionism was willing, and they choose to sacrifice Jewish lives in order to gain a political movement. And this is happening all the time. They would do everything they can. In some cases, they assassinated Jews who are standing in their way, among so many other non-Jews, as everybody is aware. This is the experience our people face in occupied Palestine from the Israeli regime, from the Zionist regime. This was even before October 7th. Since October 7th, many people are not aware, but since October 7th, anything related to Palestine, mentioning Palestine in a post, in a social media post, is considered a crime, and you become arrested for that. Not mentioning coming out in public and raising an Israeli flag, this is an official crime today in Israel. But still in all, our people do everything they can to express not only their outrage against all these crimes, but to express their solidarity with the suffering people of Palestine. And a number of times since October 7, they did go out in public march on the streets of Jerusalem with the Palestinian flags, with the anti-Zionist banners, with the anti-Zionist slogans. Many people were arrested in many occasions. Well, it wasn't that many incidents, but in a number of occasions. But now, was just recently on Israeli Independence Day. Believe it or not. This is unbelievable. I don't believe this because I don't know if I would have that courage to do it, but my colleagues in Israel do it. They went out on the streets of Jerusalem with the Palestinian flags on Israeli Independence Day and expressed their voice. People were arrested, people were tortured on the street, and these people don't stop. This is something that we all should admire, and I do admire them because I believe that those people have way more courage than I have here in the States. But coming back to our experience here, we do this all the time. We do this in Palestinian events. We do this countering pro-Israeli events, and the Zionists are very upset. Now, one may ask a question: why would they be so upset? Like, for example, we were on Israeli Independence Day, which was on the May 13th in the United States. And we were standing in Times Square, New York City, while it was not that big, but it was a pro-Israeli celebration with Israeli Independence Day. If you would be there, it was CBS that reported that there were dozens of pro-Israeli celebrating the Israeli Independence Day. It was very interesting because supposedly New York City, a celebration for Israeli Independence Day, was supposed to have like a couple of thousand or tens of thousands of people, but CBS reported dozens of people. We were standing on the side, counter protesting them, and it was puzzling to see that Zionist chairing that event took his time to mention Neturei Karta 4 times during that rally and condemning them. Why not ignore them? It would have been much wiser to simply ignore those Neturei Karta who nobody should look at their side at all. But it looks like they are afraid of something. And the education which is out there, which they would not like to see, is reaching and is bearing roots, and people listen and people realize that something is wrong with Zionism, something is wrong with the state of Israel. And this is something that they cannot tolerate. They do everything they can to harass, intimidate. They would do everything they can to make people lose their jobs. And, you might be aware, Zionist intimidation is very strong, as you have the Zionist AIPAC on the political level, which is very intimidating, which is very dangerous, and intimidates politicians to a tremendous level. So do they have all different types of intimidation to intimidate the individuals. Since October 7th, at least in 2 incidents, we had our colleagues who are public, who come out in public and with their voice, were threatened, and afterwards have them lose their position. They had 2 prestigious positions that they lost. In one incident, he was warned beforehand and given the option to either stop activism or lose his position. He didn't give up on his strong conviction, and he refused to stop and lost his position. This happens from time to time. I have to tell you this story. It was a couple of years ago, well, a number of years ago. I had a colleague of mine coming over to me, an old friend coming over to me and tells me, I'll do everything I can to support your work. And he was financially supporting us for a very long time. But he said, there's no way I can come out in public and join you, because if I do, they take a picture of me. He was involved in a very, very big company in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
They publicized my picture. I closed down my business the same day. And this is unfortunately true. But still in all, people are strong. People are not intimidated. And people will speak up for God and his religion. Jewish people will speak up for our people and for any people who are misrepresented or oppressed and killed.
And speaking of which, Rabbi Feldman, speaking of which, I've been very, very impressed with the growing numbers of Jewish youth, students, and members of activist organizations, Jews who have been organizing massive demonstrations, declaring very boldly, without any reservation, not in our name.
Right.
Your thought on this growing swell of young Jews that are engaged in this pushback against Zionism and what is happening in occupied Palestine, and also your thoughts on
Right.
what the world has been witnessing in Gaza.
Right. This change is very enlightening, very encouraging. This change is in place already before October 7th.
Okay.
People are waking up. But since October 7th, everything has dramatically changed.
Yes, indeed.
Non-Jewish people are waking up. I'm in the United States. Americans are waking up. Canadians are waking up. The world is waking up. But as you said, masses of Jewish people are waking up. And this is very encouraging. And this shows, or at least this is an outcome of so much awareness, which was around already for a long time, and just wasn't enough to trigger the people to take the effort and to sacrifice, to speak up and to realize how not only important, but how crucially needed this voice is, and how life-saving this voice is. And therefore, so many people and students are, I would say, maybe on the front line, taking the lead and being so brave. And you know, we stood up in so many occasions to support these students, from Columbia in New York City, City College of New York, to McGill University in Montreal, Canada, and was that other University of Quebec in Canada, which is basically now very strong in its encampment. In London, England, we had Jewish people coming out in support of the students. And we say that the bravery of the students is to be admired. We encourage everyone to admire this and to use this as a lesson. This is supposed to be a lesson for the rest of Americans, for the rest of the world, to follow the lead of these students. Now, and I have to say that what's so disturbing for me and for us as Jewish people is this intimidation used to silence or attack these students. And intimidation is being used, this false accusation of anti-Semitism. And this is ridiculous. This is terrible. This is not only doing injustice for the students who deserve the freedom of speech. It's not only doing injustice for the Palestinian people who deserve our voice or the voice of the world to stand up for them. It's doing injustice for the Jewish people as well. And let me start by saying, first we have to understand that anti-Zionism is in no way anti-Semitic. As I said before, to begin with, we have to understand that Judaism is not Zionism. Zionism is not the representation of the Jewish people. These two concepts, Judaism and Zionism, are diametrically opposed. Now, if Zionism doesn't represent Judaism, no one should say that criticizing Zionism is criticizing Judaism or the Jewish people. We have to remember history, as I mentioned very briefly before. Palestine never had a problem with the Jewish people. Neither does the pro-Palestinian solidarity movement have today. And I encourage all peoples who are concerned with this anti-Semitism situation, just go approach. And I stopped many Zionists and I asked them, did you ever speak to any of these pro-Palestinian activists and ask them what they have to say? What is their opinion about the Jewish people, about the Jewish religion? And the answer was always no, because those Zionists never take the time to speak to the people and to understand what these people want, what is all behind their activism, and what's basically the motive, and what's their approach, and what is their goal to achieve. Like, for example, from the river to the sea, Palestine should be free, is being viewed by the Zionists as anti-Semitic, as wanting to drive all the Jews into the sea. And this is not a mistake they have. This is not just by accident that they misunderstand this slogan. This is on purpose, misleading, attempting to mislead the world that all pro-Palestinian activism or any accusation, any condemnation of Zionist crimes is anti-Semitic. And this is very misleading, and not only misleading, but also dangerous, as I'm going to explain. Condemning crimes, if we are witnessing crimes taking place, these crimes should be condemned. These crimes should be stopped, regardless who the perpetrators of the crimes are. In our case, we as Jewish people are just embarrassed that these crimes in Palestine are being committed by some people of Jewish descent, supposedly in the name of all Jews. But this doesn't make the criticism anti-Semitic in any way. On the contrary, the state of Israel is the greatest exacerbation of anti-Semitism today, because all what they are doing to others in the name of all Jews is basically causing so much hatred towards Jews because people think that all Jews are accountable. And it's even worse when you conflate anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism, and you blame all criticism to Israel as anti-Semitic. You are making a statement. You're making a statement that all Jews support these crimes, and therefore, when criticizing the crimes, this is criticism to all Jews, which is obviously not the case. And it's basically making a statement that all Jews are accountable to all crimes taking place. Now, again, this movement of Zionism, or more specifically, this conflation of anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism, is not only causing so much harm to Palestinians, but actually causing so much hatred and danger to the Jewish people as well.
Absolutely.
I'm just coming to that previous point, that the state of Israel is not the savior of the Jewish people. It's the danger of the Jewish people, in addition to all catastrophe inflicted on the Palestinians.
Okay, Rabbi Feldman, as I knew would be the case, time has flown by fast. And in fact, we have gone a bit over what I had thought this conversation would be in terms of duration. Let me just give you a moment to just take 30 seconds to say whatever final word you would like to say to the viewers, the listeners in South Africa, the United States, and other parts of the world who will see this broadcast. Whatever you would like to say in a final 30-second clip.
My message to all peoples of all different backgrounds, Palestinians, non-Palestinians, Jews, non-Jews. The state of Israel does not represent world Jewry. The Jewish religion opposes everything Zionism or the state of Israel stands for. Masses of Jewish people are in total solidarity with the suffering people of Palestine. We hurt with the people of Palestine. We cry with them, and we do everything we can to stop this injustice and to stop this misrepresentation of the Jewish people.
On that note, I want to thank you, Rabbi Feldman, for joining us today. Inshallah ta'ala, we're going to have you and or Rabbi Weiss back soon to continue this conversation. But until then, may your days be blessed. May you be protected, you and your community, and the struggle continues. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much, and good luck to all viewers and listeners.
Okay, we're going to take another station break now, another commercial break, and come back. What I'd like, we'll come back after the commercial break.
Contact Lenasia Livestock and Poultry for all your sadaqah, akika and kurbani requirements. We offer clean, hygienic abattoir style and refrigeration facilities. Sheep, goat and cows are available at competitive market-related prices, direct to the public. We slaughter, slice and distribute on your behalf. But that's not all. Introducing Meat Masters Halal Butchery, our sister company situated on our farm in Lenasia. Unbeatable prices on lamb, beef and chicken. Lenasia Livestock and Poultry. Livestock is our business. We are Sanha approved. Telephone 011 857 1774. Call now.
After the recent attacks on Gaza, many families have been displaced with their homes left destroyed. Through your donations, our teams are on the ground in Gaza, providing support and delivering necessary aid to families affected. The people of Gaza need your help. Give hope. Donate today to Penny Appeal South Africa. www.pennyappeal.org.za 031 1100 573.
We are here on the ground with Penny Appeal organizations in Gaza.
World-class financial services only at Sapphire Global, your financial partner. If you are looking for Islamic, Sharia, and ethical financial products, look no further. Sapphire Global offers a wide range of financial service offerings from short-term to life and investments. A full-service center with all financial requirements under one brand. Our highly skilled and experienced consultants are ready to help protect your financial future. Contact us on 041 001 0184 or visit our website on www.sapphireglobalfs.com. Sapphire Global is an authorized financial services provider.
In the Eastern Cape, children are facing unimaginable hunger. A baby was rescued, fed only powdered drink. A young girl lost her life searching for food. Children eat grass to survive and return to school on Mondays too hungry to learn, some even crying from hunger. Teachers and principals are giving what little they have, but it's not enough. This Ramadan, you can make a difference. Help us support Muslim families in Gqeberha and rural Eastern Cape. Together, we can feed hope, fight hunger, foster change. Donate to the Al-Fida Foundation. Send your proof of payments to admin@alfida.co.za for Section 18A tax certificates or contact us on 041 484 1288.
You South African, of course. You anxious about the future. We've got you covered. Build on your wealth portfolio with Rendry Jewelers Gold Coin Exchange. Visit us at 151 Stephen Dlamini Road, Musgrave, Durban, or call us on 031 202 4700 for more information. Rendry Jewelers Gold Coin Exchange, your passport to gold investment.
Elections are near. 2024 is a time to feel the Al Jama'ah effect. Presently, our country faces challenges with corruption and crime being rife, poor service delivery, load shedding, and high unemployment. Al Jama'ah is a platform that unifies communities and provides safety, dignity, honor, and protection to all. We believe in a South Africa where every citizen is employed and where leaders serve the people. You have the power to vote and shape the future. Join the Al Jama'ah effect and let's shape a brighter South Africa together. It is your right to vote. Vote Al Jama'ah. This advert was paid for by the political party.
Listen to something fresh. Listen to Salam Media.
Welcome back. On this day, 99 years ago, a child was born by the name of Malcolm Little. This child would grow up to become known internationally as Malcolm X and El-Hajj Malik al-Shabazz. My original intent was to share something quite thought-provoking about our brother El-Hajj Malik al-Shabazz that connects to this issue of Gaza and the genocide taking place there and the ethnic cleansing and other aspects of genocide also taking place in other parts of occupied Palestine. On the West Bank, it's quiet as it's kept. There is this thought-provoking piece by Mondoweiss. It comes to us courtesy of Mondoweiss. I'm not going to try to share that with you now because we don't really have the time. I don't want to rush through it. It's much too important. What I'm going to do instead is after this broadcast has ended, I'm going to do a Facebook Live presentation on this piece titled Malcolm X's Final Written Words Were About Zionism. It's a thought-provoking piece. So this is what we're going to do after the broadcast ends. What I'm going to do instead with the final minutes that we have in today's broadcast is just speak a little bit about why I'm here in Texas right now. I've been in Texas for a week now. In fact, I arrived a few days, almost a week earlier than I had originally planned because a very dear friend, an elder, a big brother of mine, Sheikh Khalid Zaman, passed away about a week ago. And so I was in Houston, Texas first, and then I came from Houston to Dallas, Fort Worth. Now let me just say that Khalid Zaman, he was a big-hearted brother who knew one of the most prominent political prisoners that we had been giving time and attention to, and her family. He knew Dr. Afia Siddiqui from the time when she arrived in America as this bright, young, deeply committed Muslim student, and she did her freshman year at the University of Houston. Khalid Zaman also knew the family of Afia, her brother, her sister, her mother. He knew them all, and he was very committed to Afia's freedom. Khalid Zaman was also one of the founding members of the Islamic Society of North America, of the Muslim Students Association, which preceded the Islamic Society of North America, and then ISNA itself. He's one of the trailblazers for the immigrant Muslim community in the United States. But this was a brother who was not afraid to stand up and speak out for what is right. He was a very determined defender of Afia Siddiqui and remained so for years. So I had to come to Texas, and subhanAllah, while I was here in Texas, right after I arrived from Houston to Dallas Fort Worth, I get the news that well, I think it was about a day or two later, I get the news that another brother, a dear friend of mine, an African American brother, you know, Khalid Zaman was of East Indian heritage. An African American brother by the name of Carol Abdul Malik passed away. Another supporter of Afia Siddiqui, another supporter and defender of his brother El-Hajj Mauri Saalakhan and the work that the Afia Foundation has been doing. One of our most staunch supporters in the African American community. And so, and unfortunately, I was not able to get back to Northern Virginia for my brother's janazah. So inshallah ta'ala, I'm planning shortly after I get back home to visit Richmond again, to visit the gravesite of my brother, and to sit for a while and recite Quran, read Quran, inshallah ta'ala. These were two very dear brothers to me. With that being said, and I know that if Carol Abdul Malik were alive, you know, if he could speak from the grave, you know, he would give his brother Saalakhan a pass, given the reasons for my being in Dallas Fort Worth. He would give me a pass on not attending, you know, not being able to attend his janazah. You know, I know this brother well enough to know that this would be his position. You do what you got to do. You know, you do what you got to do for our sister, brother Saalakhan. With that being said, what brings me here and what is going to keep me here for the next 8 or 9 days? This coming Saturday, next Saturday, inshallah ta'ala, we are going to have a very important conference in Plano, Texas. Brother, show that flyer, please. This is the flyer for the conference on Hindutva, Zionism, and Western imperialism. This is going to be one of the most magnificent, most well-informed human rights teachings that you can possibly participate in, certainly in this part of America. This is going to take place again next Saturday, May 25th, we're going to begin at actually 6:30, somewhere around 6:30, no later than 7 o'clock, the program will begin. This is free and open to the public. And it's going to be a mix of live speakers and also some thought-provoking videos, educational videos on the issues that we are going to be focusing attention on. So you want to be there, inshallah ta'ala. So that will be taking place on the 25th. The next day, on the 26th, we are going to have a rally for our sister in Islam, Dr. Afia Siddiqui. Now, let me also say this, and this is going to take place right outside the prison where she is being held, FMC Carswell, on a military reserve base in Fort Worth, Texas. This should be the largest demonstration we've ever had. So far, the largest has been about 300. This should eclipse that by far. Last night, there was a program at the Valley Ranch Islamic Center in Irving, Texas, a very large center. Sheikh Yasser Burgess and also Sheikh Omar Suleiman. These are the scholars that are affiliated with this center. This was last night the most well-attended program for Imam Jamil Abdullah Al-Amin, another precedent-setting case that I have witnessed anywhere in America. The center, which is a large center, was full. It was a very well-organized, thought-provoking program. led by his son, Kyrie El-Amin, and Sheikh Omar, a number of other speakers that were, all of them did extremely well. But most important of all was the response that came from the community. Initially, also, I should note, we were planning to have the conference that we're having next Saturday. We were planning to have that conference yesterday. But when we learned that a program was going to be coming to Valley Ranch for Imam Jamil, we didn't want to be in competition. We wanted to be in support of that effort. And so that is why we decided to move our originally scheduled program from yesterday to next Saturday. And inshallah ta'ala, we're if just half of those who were present in that space at the Valley Ranch Islamic Center last night, just half of that number come out for our sister in Islam, Dr. Afia Siddiqui, in Fort Worth next Sunday, it'll be the largest demonstration we've had to date. We owe this to her. We owe this to her family. And I would also add that, while we're going to be here for Memorial Day weekend, there's going to be a conference taking place, an annual conference taking place in Baltimore. My understanding is that my sister in Islam, Dr. Fawzia Siddiqui, the sister of Afia Siddiqui, will be there at that conference. And also the attorney for Afia, the American-British dual citizen, human rights-oriented lawyer, Clive Stafford Smith, will also be there with her. Man, the organizers of that conference in Baltimore, Maryland, they should roll out the red carpet. They should roll out the red carpet for these two individuals, give them whatever they need in order to be able to expose more folk to this precedent-setting case, and also to invite others to give support to this very important cause. I often say, and I repeat again, don't wait for something like this to happen to you or to someone that you love before you become concerned. ICNA, MAS, ISNA, all of the other organizations, the whole alphabet soup a line of organizations that we have, large and small. Really, this is a time to step up. The youth around this issue of Palestine have demonstrated grit. They have demonstrated courage. They have demonstrated a willingness to sacrifice, and to sacrifice much, in order to make the declarative statement as loudly as they can, not in our name will we allow the American empire to do what it's doing in support of this cancer on the global body politic called Israel, the apartheid Zionist state of Israel. You have young people that are sacrificing much in order to shed light, to bring pressure. The least we can do as Muslims, especially those of us who are well-resourced, the least we can do is open the door and welcome in those who have a need to have access to a platform to bring more attention, awareness, education to what is affecting them directly and what is affecting us all indirectly, whether we realize it or not. Again, don't wait for something like this to happen to you or to someone that you love before you become concerned. Now, we had another video that we wanted to show, but we are now 5 minutes past the hour. So Brother Sadiq, inshallah ta'ala, we'll save that video for another time. What I want to emphasize here and now is that, subhanAllah, we are at a defining moment as people of faith across the board, Muslims, Christians, Jews, and others. We are at a defining moment, a moment when we are establishing the identity of our character for years to come. A day is going to come for those of us who are still young. It doesn't include your brother Saalakhan with all this gray, but those who are still young and those who are relatively young. The day will come when your children, your grandchildren will ask about this time, this very defining moment that we are in as a nation and as a global community. When this thing was going down, daddy, mommy, granddad, grandmom, where were you? What were you doing? What role did you play? This is a defining moment, brothers and sisters. Don't let it pass you by. Again, those of you in Texas, and especially those of you in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, mark your calendars. Join us next Saturday for the conference, an awakening conference on Hindutva, Zionism, and Western imperialism. And then join us the next day for what I pray will be the last demonstration we will need to have for our long-suffering sister in Islam, Dr. Afia Siddiqui, who is wasting away on a military reserve base in Fort Worth, Texas. On that note, we thank you for joining us, and we end the broadcast as we normally do with the words from the Quran, from the surah known as Al-Asr. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Wal Asr. Innal insana lafi kusr. Illa alladhina amanu wa amalu salihati wa tawassaw bil haqq wa tawassaw bis sabr, which means, in the translation of the meaning, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, by the token of time, through the ages, surely humanity is in loss, except for those who believe and do good, and exhort one another to truth, and exhort one another to patiently persevere. Peace be unto you. Assalamu alaikum.